think about
Okay,
it. There's fires everywhere right
That's a
now.
big deal.
Everything's
Fire- okay,
burning down.
fires are a big deal.
This is something I might do. I'm not going to do it, but I would go take pictures of fire hazards where the homeless have had camps, and I'd be like, is this a fire hazard? Is this a fire hazard? Like, it's a big deal with the wind and how we're in a drought season for so long. It's scary.
All right. Here with my friend Jennifer Fleck.
Hi.
You are the new Travis County GOP chair.
That is correct.
I'm actually really surprised that I'm really surprised that they let you be in charge of this organization.
Well, I had to whip some votes. It was a regular election with like 131 voters, and I called everybody, and more people liked me than didn't like me.
No, it's a good thing. I just feel as though like the GOP establishment, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they like you very much.
We might change that. I might win them over.
I don't think.
It's always a new day. You know, when I first got into politics, I was quite naive about what politics was, and I might have said some things out loud that I should have kept to myself.
Well, like what?
Just stuff.
Well, you know, you're here now, and we have a president who preaches maximum transparency, so we could like practice maximum transparency on this tricycle.
Correct. We could. Let's do. Oh, you want to know what I did?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one of my more naive moments is when Governor Abbott endorsed my opponent. I posted on Facebook, "Fleck the establishment."
Well, that's a good thing. What's wrong with that?
Well, it didn't. I don't think it was communicated very well. So you're asking me how I might have lost favor with the establishment. I don't think that was a good start on my part.
Perhaps, but regular people are becoming more and more disconnected from the system, and I think regular people kind of crave authenticity, and they want to feel as though they are being governed by somebody who is like them, which is why Donald Trump won in the way in which he did. This guy's a billionaire, and he sounds like Frank from The Neighborhood when he talks.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it too. And so I think that you should never lose that. That's a good thing to have.
Okay, I will try.
That's what I'm saying. I think being a genuine...
We're 6 years smarter today.
We are 6 years smarter, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So how did this whole thing transpire? Like, why did Matt just resign out of nowhere?
Well, Matt, in his public statement, he said that he wanted to go work on his other businesses and also have a family. He's a little older for someone who hasn't had kids yet, so
Okay.
and he's just recently married, so that made sense. I think the revision of the executive committee, which when I say executive committee, the precinct chairs, just becoming more and more conservative. They were very concerned with transparency and accountability, and Matt had run the party for 7 or 8 years without really having to answer to anyone, and I'm not saying that he was doing anything wrong, but I think the job just became less fun.
I kind of agree. I think that Matt was really good about collecting signatures and getting petitions on ballots, but he was really bad at communicating his message to regular people.
I would just say that he was spread thin, and Travis County Republican Party chair is an unpaid position.
Well, yeah.
And so I think he was focusing on things that
Gave him money. Yeah, but which obviously makes sense.
Yeah.
But because of that, he just wasn't as good at communicating the message as somebody else could be.
Right. I think someone that was willing to, like me, who's willing to dedicate more time to the organization, I think I'll be more successful. I know
agree.
I will be.
But I've talked to Matt. This is not like a dig at Matt or anything like that at all. Every conversation I've had has been really pleasant. He's gone on a couple times. Everything we've talked about, we've pretty much agreed on everything that we've talked about. The criticism, and I've said this directly to him, is that he just doesn't communicate these views that we're talking about. He needs to do a better job of using his platform to communicate that to a larger audience, and I think that audience is actually there.
Yeah.
And so, you've been in Austin for how long?
We have owned a house on Lake Travis since 2005, and
Okay.
I've lived here full time since 2016.
Okay. How often do you actually come into downtown Austin?
During the legislative session, I'm here at least once a week.
Okay.
Outside of the legislative session, not very often.
What do you notice when you kind of like hang out here?
What do I notice? I did notice, the library, outside the library. I was driving through downtown yesterday, and I felt like that landscaping, whatnot, was beautiful, like the infrastructure of the city.
Yeah.
But I also, of course, noticed the homeless impact on this city and every city in America, really. Austin, I don't know. I'm not down here. To be honest, I'm not down here enough to have a informed opinion.
So as you can see, we just passed a guy setting up a cot in the middle of the underpass.
Correct.
We do have a homeless problem.
Yes.
It's not as bad as it was in 2020 and 2021 when open camping was pretty much legal. But what has happened has been being friends with Jamie Hammond of Dash. It's really migrated kind of to the Greenbelt.
Yes.
And what's concerning about that is that this is a city that prides itself on like fighting climate change and like protecting the environment and all this other stuff, which is great. You should protect the environment and keep the water clean. It would be nice to be able to eat the fish coming out of Barton Springs. It would be nice to be able to like have more sustainable food gardens and local farms and all this other stuff.
I think we have to change the messaging. So as far as the homeless, especially in the Greenbelt, I think we change the messaging to: is this safe if there's a fire? Is the water safe if there's a flood? Is this safe for the homeowners that own property along the Greenbelt? Like, I think it turns into a safety question that I think will translate to both sides of the political spectrum.
I agree, and I think that this is a very easy issue to communicate. I also think that the crime issue is also a really easy issue to communicate. And so when I see the way that in which the city council is made up with like pretty much all Democrats, right? And I'm not saying that being a Democrat is bad. I used to be a Democrat. I don't think I have like super right-leaning political views or anything like that. We've talked a lot about different things. There are probably things we agree on, things we disagree on. But the way in which the current Democratic Party is made up is a humongous problem and a big deviation from a lot of the values that I was raised with.
Right.
So I think that's a commonality that a lot of people agree on, and I think that there's a void, and there's only one party that's even willing to try and fill that void. It is the GOP. Even looking at Trump's cabinet, these are Clinton Democrat. Like if you look at especially the Treasury Secretary, and you look at like Scott Bessent, you look at like RFK in charge of public health, you look at Tulsi Gabbard in charge of DNI, and what have you. These are not Republicans. Like if this were to be a presidential cabinet in 1995, you would not think that this was a Republican presidential cabinet.
I agree. But I do think it's going to take some GOP candidates to kind of shift the city council. And we're doing a lot of data crunching right now. And when you compare the 2022 governor's race with the Trump 2024 race, there was a shift to Republican voters, a shift in the percentages. So we're looking at those districts really hard to see where we can win.
So more of them voted for Trump than for Abbott?
Yes.
Yes, obviously.
Yes.
So I bet you're wondering why I'm wearing this fun outfit.
I would love to know.
So I've been giving pedicab rides wearing this for the past month and a half or so. And my sales pitch is I roll up and I say, hey guys, would you like a ride? We're fighting communism. And then I play my rap songs, which you've heard.
Yes.
And these songs, by and large, are very well received by the people in my cab. They're very well received by the people on the street who see me giving rides in my cab. My buddy Pergy can attest to that. Isn't that right, Pergy? You have no microphone, but you could just talk really loudly so people can hear you.
Oh, yeah. People love the song. They're getting really turned up in the cab.
Yes, people get turned up in the cab. Also, Pergy, one more question for you. How do the other pedicab... What's the reaction to my songs and my political viewpoints among other pedicabbers in Austin? I'd like you to be as honest as you can.
I honestly, I know some people who, they find the comedy in it, they find it, hilarious. Honestly, I don't know anything outside of that.
Okay, but would you say that if I were to tell you that it's kind of split down the middle, would that be an accurate statement?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, and you guys are getting this, right, Tom? Okay, you're getting this. Okay, so it's split down the middle. Now, what do you think, like, the political leanings of most pedicab drivers are, Pergy?
I would say it's pretty much split down the middle if I had to
More left than right, I would assume, right?
Yeah, actually surprisingly more left.
Yeah, surprisingly more left than right. But my songs are positively received by probably a good half of the community. And the people who don't like these songs aren't like aggressively upset, or they don't really verbalize their, their feelings, their negative feelings to me directly.
I agree that we're winning some what I would call middle voters or soft Democrats or Democrats that just aren't into the woke narrative or ideology. Those people are just common sense voters.
Yes. And so, but the makeup of our city council and the makeup of our district attorney and our county commissioners does not represent what I'm specifically talking about in terms of the real world.
I agree. So my big goal, and what I promise my voters is that we are going to put a Republican candidate on the ballot in every race in 2026. So every county commissioner race, every the county judge race, the district attorney race, whatever city council positions are up in Austin, we're going to have a Republican option candidate for our Republican voters or voters who are ready for a change.
And that is fantastic. What are the qualities that you're going to look for when finding these candidates?
Right now, I just want anybody who's willing, who wants to run, and then the Travis County Republican Party is going to raise funds so that we can offer a low-cost or no-cost entry to candidacy.
And I like this very much. And I think both of us are pretty much aware that the qualifications for being a GOP candidate in Austin are going to be different from being a GOP candidate in, say, Tyler, Texas.
Actually, the only requirement is that you have to have voted in the last Republican primary.
Not requirement, but
Okay.
what I mean in terms of like what will resonate with voters.
Sure, but
Like
listen, if you qualify by voting in the last Republican primary, then I'm open to any candidate that was a Republican voter very recently.
No. Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to win an election in Travis County saying that we should ban weed.
I agree.
Right. That's kind of what I'm trying to
But
say.
I would consider myself ultra MAGA, and there were people who didn't think I could even win this election, and I won. So.
Yeah, but you're like not as Pete. You get a bad rep. Like I think that you're pretty. You're a lot more open-minded to different ideas than a lot of people give you credit for, which is why we're even doing this.
Right.
Yeah, and we were friends when I told you I was going to vote for Bernie Sanders and all that other stuff. Like it didn't like.
It didn't scare me off.
Yeah, you didn't care. You were cool about it. We were still buddies. It didn't really make a difference.
Correct.
And so I think that there is a different type of candidate. There's different qualifications. I guess there's just different qualities to look for in a Travis County GOP candidate versus.
I agree. But I want anybody who's interested to reach out to me.
For sure. How do you plan on actually supporting these candidates? Because there was a huge lack of funding, lack of media exposure. There was a big communication problem when it came to these other past candidates.
So I have a lot of thoughts around this, but I would like anybody who's interested to reach out to me. And then I want to create almost like a booklet for donors where we have the profile of the candidate, and they're actually going to donate potentially to sponsoring a candidate for DA or sponsoring a candidate for county judge or whatever. But we're going to raise money to provide a website, filing fees, and we're going to support each of those candidates.
And I like that. I think that's very good.
Yeah.
What industries do you think are going to like attract the largest percentage of donors?
I think everybody's going to be interested in replacing our DA.
I agree with you, but
this is not going to be a hard sell.
I agree. Specifically, though, what industries do you think would are going to attract the most donors and most support?
Industry.
Yeah. Because I have one industry right off the bat that I could tell you.
Well, I would like to think that law enforcement would be all in. I would like to think that the real estate agencies would be all in. I don't know. What else? What do you think?
I think that the Bitcoin community is a community that the Travis County GOP is a very underutilized community and should be reached out to.
Now, what about the Bitcoin community, though, is more where is the appetite there? Like, what are we against or that Democrats are for that they're getting that money or not getting that money?
Well, I think that Joe Biden has been very, very much anti-Bitcoin with
Okay.
Operation Choke Point 2.0, where they would like deny loans and they would freeze bank accounts of crypto founders and Bitcoin founders specifically. The fact that they would make up repeated false statements about how Bitcoin mining destroys the environment. While this is a global thing, but when you go to like the World Economic Forum and you listen to Davos class talk, they're openly promoting central bank digital currencies and speaking out against Bitcoin as being like a huge risk to like to the monetary order.
Well,
And
I'm 100% in favor of asking those donors to contribute.
well, good. I mean, I'm just explaining why I think it's
Yeah.
why I think it's a valuable thing.
Yeah.
And so that's one component, and also Bitcoin by its nature is freedom money. And so how many times do you hear about conservative influencers and commentators and pundits and whatnot, especially these past 4 years, having like bank accounts frozen because of their political viewpoints?
Right, like PayPal did. Yes,
Okay.
it happens for sure.
So if you own your own keys and you run your own node, that does not affect you because you can still send and receive money without the permission of the state.
The government, correct?
Yeah.
I'm for limited government.
It's freedom money. It's anti-state, and it's literally money for everybody. And so, as a result of the censorship that's being propagated by largely left-wing organizations, a lot of Bitcoiners have gone very much more to the right as a result of this, especially since Trump has talked about like establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So I would think that learning about this topic and going to the Bitcoin meetups, which they have I think like once a month, like first Thursday of every month, like right at the Littlefield building, it's called Unchained Capital. I think going there as a student wanting to learn, introducing yourself as the new Travis County GOP chair, talking right now about how you want to start getting candidates for city council and for DA that can help clean up the city and kind of restore like the cultural balance of what Austin used to be. I think it would go over very well in that community. And a lot of Bitcoiners do have a lot of money, especially some of the bigger names who were getting in, who've been in since like 2012, or even 2015 when it was like a couple $100 a coin.
I love it.
Now it's $100,000 a coin almost. I think that there's a huge opportunity there. There's a huge opportunity there, and I think that that's a resource that should get tapped into, and it also will attract younger voters because Bitcoin, even crypto, even though a lot of other cryptocurrencies, not Bitcoin, are kind of a scam. Bitcoin does attract younger voters who are voting more to the right, and a lot of these younger voters who voted for Donald Trump or who at the very least enjoy my songs would be more willing to get involved if the message was relatable to them.
Sure, absolutely. I'll do it.
Good. I think that's a good idea. What was I going to say? So, what's your media strategy?
Well, I would love some young persons to help me out. I don't think I'm super connected with what's new and hot and attractable. I think I'm pretty good at messaging. I just have to I need some help getting that message out.
And is your X account up to date?
I think probably not.
You need to get that up to date.
I know. You can help me.
I will.
Okay, good. I'll take it.
I'll help you. I'll repost your stuff. I'm 1,000% happy to do that.
Good.
I would love to repost your stuff and help you out in any way that I can. What's
else?
happening at the state level to kind of mitigate? Because you're going to the Capitol on a weekly basis, you said. What's happening at the state level to mitigate the problems that are caused by a lot of what Jose Garza is doing in terms of the permissiveness of violent crime?
I don't know. I mean, everything I don't know. I know Representative Kane is trying to establish a district of Austin or something and carve out Austin separate from the city so that, they can set different policies and different rules. I don't necessarily know if I'm for that, but I know that the legislature realizes that we have a problem, and I think they're trying different things.
Jamie White from InfoWars got killed stopping somebody from breaking into his car. And people try to say that property crime is not violent crime, but property crime actually is violent crime because a lot of people who commit those types of crime do have weapons,
Sure.
do have records for committing violent crimes in the past, and then when confronted, have been known to act very violently in light of being confronted. And so I think that there should be a push to treat like if you break into a car, I think, right, it should be viewed in the same vein as attempted murder or assault and battery.
I don't know. I'd have to look that up to see if they're trying to increase the. You're asking, can those crimes, can we increase the penalty?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if that's happening, but I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I think it's a very good idea. How was funding when Matt was running the GOP?
Gosh, I think we were month to month, to be honest. Like, I think he was raising enough money to pay the staff and the rent, basically. And when we did have a fundraiser, our most recent fundraiser, the money was spent fast and quick. So I think the party struggled for a while. And so it definitely falls in my job description. I have to be fundraising all the time.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. How do you think they communicated? How do you think other GOP candidates or even GOP office holders used their platform to communicate their message?
Like who?
Well, in 2022, there was a couple GOP candidates.
In Travis County?
In Travis County, yeah, ran for city council. How do you think they communicated? Yeah, and we could do specifics.
It's hard because I'm not in the city, so I don't know if I'm really paying attention. I live outside of the city limits, so you're going to have to give me a specific example.
I can give you a few. So in District 8, there was a guy named Richard Smith.
Right, I remember.
He was a very nice guy.
I met him.
But he also didn't seem very in touch with how to speak to people who are under the age of 65.
Right. We have to do a better job. We have to do a better job of messaging, and that's going to be part of the packages that we offer the candidates.
And then there was Clinton Rary, who
I like
ran
him.
for Clinton's the man. He ran for city council in a pretty much entirely black district.
Yeah.
Got 10% of the vote, and did it with almost no support from the Travis County GOP. And he was an amazing communicator, and he was really approachable, and he went above and beyond to try to do as much work as possible, knowing that he was going to get demolished in this election. And he actually wound up getting like 10% of the vote in an all-black district, being a full-blown Alex Jones guy.
Okay, so I know the past. In the past, the Travis County GOP did not support Republican candidates. I know that happened. That's not going to happen anymore.
Good. That is a good thing. That is very positive. I'm very excited and happy about that.
Good.
What was I going to say? Okay, and then we had Mackenzie.
Mackenzie Kelly,
How do you think Mackenzie did during her 4 years in office?
I really wasn't tracking her, to be honest. I know. Sorry.
Okay. I can tell you how I think Mackenzie did.
Okay.
I think Mackenzie did a really good job in terms of how she voted.
Okay, good.
I think she voted correctly.
Good.
But I also think that it was really easy for Mackenzie to vote correctly because all she had to do was say no. Like on paper, all she had to do was just say no and object to all the bullshit.
Right.
Knowing that her objections would mean nothing, but she could just say, hey, I object to this and I'm the voice of reason on the city council, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it felt like her job was the equivalent of being like the punter in the NFL.
Right.
On an NFL team that led the league in total offense.
Right. So this is what I've always said about Matt, and I can't say it about Mackenzie because I just didn't follow her and I don't know as well. I know how Matt handled his title was that, in my opinion, he could have leveraged his position and his title with like press releases and interviews and messaging to give it a little more punch and power.
And also, he talked a little bit too much about like U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah, I don't know that. So what I'm saying is, could Mackenzie Kelly, even though she knew she was always going to be the losing vote, could she have been out there in front and in the public and saying more and making a bigger difference? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, so I think that's actually a very strong yes.
Okay.
I think that could have been also why she lost her election.
Maybe.
I think that when Clint was running, she didn't really use her voice very much to help Clint win. She wanted to be on good terms with people. She wanted to play nice with people. She wanted to get along with the people that she was working with, despite the fact that these people visibly couldn't stand her and hated her, and had no willingness to establish any kind of a relationship with her in any capacity.
Correct.
And I think that she was unilaterally focused on two issues, which is homelessness and police, which is fine. Those are issues that are important. But when you repeat the same slogan over and over again, eventually only a small group of people are going to listen to you, and you're not really expanding.
Correct.
You're not expanding the audience. And I also think that there's a lot of room to get your message out on podcasts.
Yeah.
And
lots of different ways.
yeah,
Sure.
and I think that she could have done a much better job of going on long form podcasts. And like the podcast atmosphere in Austin is ripe with resources. You know, you have Rogan.
I'll say this
You have
though.
Lex- okay.
I'll say this about when you get elected. When you actually have to put yourself out there and you actually have to go against the grain and potentially lose friends, those kind of people are few and far between. I'm one of those people, but they're few and far between. Someone who's willing to risk political capital is what it is.
Yes.
Political capital. Those people are hard to find.
I agree, but I don't think that. You know, I wrote a letter to her saying that I sent her an email like when she first got elected, saying that she should probably put out an item on council, even if it was going to fail, about providing like a reimbursement to small businesses that had to close during COVID, and reimbursement to people who are waiters and bartenders that were not able to get unemployment as a result of the COVID closures. And she never did anything about that.
Yeah.
And I think that if she had put that out on council, it probably would have gotten rejected for whatever reason it is. But in putting it out there and in speaking for it, more regular people in Travis County would say, "Wow, this is a councilwoman who I can relate to, who understands what I'm going through, who's empathetic."
But she might have understood and related to
She
what you were
did, but
saying.
she
But you
didn't-
had to risk. Listen, she had to risk political capital.
But how
and
would you-
people who want it? Listen, people
Okay.
who want to get reelected and want to be liked, it's always an exchange for them. You have to
Sure.
find that person that's different and
Sure.
brave.
Sure.
I don't want to say anything negative about
I
Mackenzie
don't
Kelly.
either.
What I like about the fact that she did win and could win, and although she lost, that district is still winnable.
It's a very winnable district.
Yes, so we're going to do
It's
it.
winnable. I guess what I'm saying, just to leave off on this, is that I don't think that advocating to help small businesses or advocating for like utilizing Bitcoin to pay property taxes or opening up to Bitcoin mining and making it easier for like
You don't think
companies
she
that
would have
focus
lost
on-
anything?
I don't think she would have really lost out on any political capital or lost any friends. I think she probably would have gained a lot more friends and a lot more support as a result of this. I don't know, like these seem like very non-controversial issues that everybody
You
would
would
be
think
agreeing
so.
on.
I've been fighting. You know how I got started in the protection of kids from sexual material, and
I know.
You think all of that is common sense, and everybody's going to agree with you, but they don't. So
No, I know. I was going to city council meetings and school board meetings dressed as an actual tranny.
right.
But you know what though? Those videos that I made, some of them got millions of views.
Right.
And some of the videos that I made as a guy who rides a tricycle for a living could have done more to influence the presidential election than people who work at big conservative think tanks.
Sure.
And I just would like that. I would hope that in this next coming election, people like me wind up becoming utilized more in terms of how the Travis County GOP operates. And if you wind up raising a lot of money, because you're going to be a little more focused on that, maybe some of that money could be used to
On
help
alternative
people like
media.
me
Right.
make the videos that I'm making so that these issues become more visible to the public.
I agree. 100%. I agree with you.
So, what's it been like? So you got elected a couple weeks ago, right?
March 11th.
March 11th. So what's
So I think Tuesday was 1 week. So I'm 1 week, 2 days in.
amazing?
Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah. Fun. It's fun. It's busy. It's very, very busy.
What have you had to do so far?
Well, our lease for our office space expires at the end of the month, so I had
Okay.
to find us a new office space. And we were meeting actually in Williamson County. Our monthly meetings were in Williamson County, and the precinct chairs were very unhappy about the drive to the monthly meeting, and so I had to find us a new meeting place. So I did that.
Where is the meetings? Where is
It's
it?
going to be, we have at 7600 North Capitol of Texas Highway,
Okay.
near the Pennyback Bridge.
Near the penny. Okay, so
Yes.
kind of near like where Mackenzie or Leslie Poole's district is at, right?
Yeah, I don't know where their district is, but yes. And so they wanted a new meeting place. We had to get a new office. We had to raise money. So the night of my election, we raised $15,000. So that was good.
That's really good. That's
We
actually.
had to pay some people that we owed money to. We had to let Lauren Day, who I adore, had been our executive director of communications or something for years under Matt, and we had to let her go, and so that was hard and difficult. But just a lot of changes, and the the executive committee is somewhat divided because Matt just didn't provide consistent leadership. So it's just bringing all those people back together under the same tent.
I like it. What's the plan for when you disagree with something that the state is doing? Example being when Dade Field, like a couple years ago, when Dade Field got nominated for what became the speaker. I remember I forgot exactly what happened, but I think I was at that meeting where nobody there wanted Phelan to be speaker, and Matt just said, "Well, we're gonna approve Phelan's nomination for speaker." If something like that happens again, would you go about things any differently?
Well, for me, that's an executive committee vote. So
Okay.
there's now almost 140 precinct chairs. And if there was momentum or a desire to pass a resolution where we said, hey, we don't agree with this, we don't like this, whatever, that's not my vote. That's their vote. But I would support whatever their vote was.
Well, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because it did feel as though when that happened, it was like, oh, let me just disregard how everybody feels, and we're gonna. That's what it felt like when I went to that meeting.
No, I understand what you felt, but we're not going to do that anymore.
That's good. I'm very happy. that makes me really happy to hear. So I am glad about that. What else are we? What else are
Is that
we?
my phone or your phone? I want to turn mine off.
That is your phone, Jennifer.
Sorry.
That is your phone.
Off.
I do think that a lot of people who are in the GOP, who are GOP insiders, think that Austin's a lot more woke than it is.
Well, if we can lighten the shade of blue in Travis County, and we can turn out voters and Republican voters, conservative voters, we can change state races. Like, for instance, like the Third Court of Appeals that encompasses 20 different counties, and they lose it because of Travis. If we can even change Travis County a little bit, it can affect big races.
I agree. I also think that when they had the DA race with the primary, because I like Daniel Betts. Daniel Betts is cool. That guy actually could have won, I think, if he had a little bit more support and if he went on more long-form podcasts and if, like, even writing a letter or trying to communicate with, like, someone like Elon Musk, there is a lot of funding that's on the sidelines where people who otherwise would not donate might actually start donating to help.
I agree.
Like, there are a lot of very wealthy, very successful. There's Elon's here. There's Jason Calcanis for the All In podcast moves here. A lot of prominent Bitcoiners live in Austin. There are a lot of people who are very successful that are very unhappy with the direction that the city's headed, and there's got to be a way to reach out to them, but not just to reach out to them asking for money. Reach out to them with a plan, with a detailed plan for how you're going to fix these very obvious concerns that are kind of that the city is dealing with. Because I know that if I'm a homeowner, right, I don't want to pay $15,000 a year in property taxes to live 3 blocks from a homeless encampment full of crackheads who are shitting in the woods.
I'm with you. I agree with you. I think it's
These
an
are
easy.
very-
I actually
it's
think
very easy.
I actually think it's an easy sell. We just haven't. We haven't done good. We haven't come up with good messaging, but also the messaging style and how it's promoted. All of that needs work. I'm pretty good at messaging.
I think you're really good at messaging. I think you're also willing to talk to a lot more people. And I think that conservatism in Austin is different than mainstream conservatism. I think that conservatism in Austin is very much curated to, like, the Alex Jones crowd. And you had people like Matt, who, I don't know how he feels now, but I know that he could not. There was a time where he hated Alex Jones and hated, like, a lot of what, like, Alex Stein was doing and all this other stuff. Thought it was, like, unbecoming of, like, what the party was and whatnot. I think that type of bold messaging is kind of like how you win elections in a place like Austin, or at the very least, even if you don't win, you do move the needle and bring awareness to how insane some of this stuff is, so that at least at the state level, it gets mitigated.
Yeah. Well, this is what we all know. We have 0 Republicans elected in Travis County.
0.
So all we can do is go up from there. We have 0.
I agree. You have a pretty low floor, so anything you do should be
Exactly.
you do should be good.
It's actually a good actually a good lane to fall into, because anything we do that's positive is going to be good.
Very good.
It's going to be a win.
So do you have when's the election? Isn't it like in a year or something, or less than a year?
If I were so if someone challenges me, I will know in December, because the
Okay.
filing period is in December, and my race would be on the March ballot.
Okay.
And then my term actually doesn't end until the state convention in June.
Okay.
So I'm here till June.
Good.
At least.
Yeah. Yes, at least. Okay. What's your plan to garner the support you need to actually? Because I think that I'm really happy that you're in charge of the GOP. I'm pumped. I'm super excited about this. I think you're a lot more. You're a lot easier to reach. You're a lot more approachable. You're a lot more personable. I think you being a female with like a warmer personality. You have a much like warmer, much more like easygoing personality than Matt has. Even though I like Matt, facts are facts. What's the plan to
secure that election in March if someone were to challenge me? I think raising money will secure my election, having money in the bank, and then also putting a candidate on the ballot in every race. Even voters that aren't insiders or GOP know-it-alls, the average voter gets very discouraged when they go to the ballot in November and they don't have a Republican option.
This is true.
They get frustrated. They're like, we would have voted for a Republican, but I couldn't even vote for a Republican because there wasn't a Republican in the race.
There was nobody there.
I think that will be huge.
That'd be huge. I think a lot of people too do not run because they just don't feel supported, and I think you need.
I think it's a lot of different reasons. I think also they don't think they can win. So I have a pitch.
Okay.
Where even if you don't win, we will, if you want to be in politics, we're going to get your name out there. We're going to get you ID. We're going to get you experience so that you can run as a candidate in another race, in another town one day. But we're going to expose you to that political climate on our dime. And that's the reason you should run. Is if you see a future in leadership, you should run.
I agree with that. And I think that messaging needs to be really pronounced and brought out.
Yeah.
And I think that the past I guess administration of the GOP in Travis County could have done a lot better when it came to that.
Well, and I also think we have to make our goals and motives and intent something that is appealable and attractable. And if someone thinks that the GOP is really not doing anything or not helping or not effective, then I'll be honest, I never donated a dime to the Travis County GOP.
Yeah, samesies.
Until I got elected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same. I'd consider donating some money now that now that you at least have somebody in charge who at the very least pretends to care. Which I know that you actually care, but I'm saying that like
I do care.
Yeah,
I do.
You want to feel as though like your money is being put to a good cause, and the people that you're donating money to actually care about you. I think that I think is the biggest concern, and I think that even with APD, I think a big reason why there's been like a drop off in like response time and stuff to things. It's not because they're not getting enough money, because they actually get paid a ton of money. It's that they just don't feel as though they matter, and they've just been beat down by so much rhetoric that people are just losing the motivation to actually do anything. And so I think that like making people feel valued and making people feel like they're worthwhile goes such a long way to getting people to become active,
inspired, motivated, all of that. Yes, give them hope. We have to give them hope.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is that in 2026, it's still very much an uphill battle where you probably will lose your election. Like you probably like there's a chance.
Lose?
Not you. I'm saying like a lot of these candidates.
The Republican candidates.
Yeah,
that's why I said it's at 0 now. So let's see.
Yeah, like you probably will not win, but you know what that means too. If you probably won't win, that means you have a lot more. There's a lot more windows of the types of risks that you can take.
Yeah.
And the openness to take risks in a place like Austin is so much higher, and you can be a lot more comfortable taking risks in a place like Austin versus another. Versus like a GOP stronghold, then why not use that opportunity to just take more risks, throw darts to the board, and just kind of see what happens?
I agree. What if we win one race? What if we win 2 races? What if we change an appellate court judge race? I mean, those are wins.
That's a win.
Those are wins. We're not going to win every race next year.
I agree.
But we're gonna change. We're gonna.
You're gonna make some changes.
We're gonna make some changes.
And I think that even in the lens of reality. With the worst case scenario of people, you're going to enter this race and you are going to get even if like you are going to get slaughtered electorally, and you're going to get slaughtered electorally, you got to get people who still are willing to put themselves out there and take these risks, because even in taking these risks and getting your name out there, it does move the needle.
Yeah.
So that
even if I get a candidate on the ballot in every race, that's a win.
Huge
We haven't. I don't even know the last time we had that. Right.
This past election, there was that didn't happen at all.
Right. We didn't have a single Republican in a judge race.
What about even in city council?
Well, Mackenzie Kelly.
Aside from Mackenzie.
Mackenzie Kelly. I think that's it.
Yeah, not a single Republican ran at all in any of these district races, but Trump put up phenomenal numbers in Travis County.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A lot of opportunity here.
I agree.
An absurd amount of opportunity here.
I agree.
And this is like, I'd be chomping at the bits.
We gotta run on that wave.
Yeah, there's an absurd amount of opportunity. A lot of people are very doomerish. People almost get so comfortable with losing and being pissed off activists, but
I'm not comfortable with
good.
losing.
I'm not either. I hate it. I grew up I have an athletic background. I grew up playing sports all my life. I hate losing.
I hate
it. I hate losing. There's a huge opportunity to kind of change that.
I agree. I'm excited. Super excited.
So what kind of podcasts are you gonna try to go? What other podcasts are you gonna try to go in, and what other modes of communication do you think you would be guiding future candidates towards?
I don't know. I'd go on any podcast. To
well,
be
I know
honest.
that, but I'm saying specific ones that you'd reach out to. Do you have any specifics in mind?
I'm sure Alex Jones would have me on InfoWars. I've been on his show before.
Yeah, I know. I helped set that up.
I
remember?
know, it's good.
Yeah.
I would do I'm open to anything. I'm not afraid to answer a question, and I'm not really afraid of any kind of scenario, obviously.
Are you friends with the guys from Drinking Bros?
I don't even know who that is.
Drinking Bros is a pretty prominent podcast. They're located kind of like right on the edge of Dripping Springs.
Okay.
Dan Holloway is the one who's in charge of it. There's Ross Patterson, Dan Holloway. Gary Faust, who used to film for me, does street interviews now for Drinking Bros. Drinking Bros is a huge platform. They did a whole election night watch party.
Do I get to drink?
Yes.
Oh,
They
good.
give you hard sell. Yeah, they'll give you booze. It's actually a lot of fun. I went on there right after I dressed up as a clown for Austin Energy, and they let me talk a little bit during the election because of some of the videos I was making and whatnot. Drinking Bros is a great podcast to try and go on once the plan has kind of been a little bit.
Yeah, let me get it all laid out. I have a couple candidates already that are willing to run. So
amazing.
I'd love for more people to reach out to me on that.
Amazing. So what are your biggest priorities? What are your biggest priorities?
Besides putting a candidate on the ballot?
Yeah, for what you would like to see
and
changed.
Fundraising?
Yeah. What are your biggest priorities?
I'd love to replace the DA.
Okay.
That's a big one. I think we could get a lot of momentum behind that.
Well, he's termed out anyway in 28.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's 2 terms or something for DA.
I didn't know that.
But you don't want another Soros
28.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he got reelected. You don't want a Soros 2.0. You don't want another Jose Garza clone running either.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No, I think we can get some momentum behind that. I'd like to grow the party. There's 267 precincts in Travis County.
Okay.
And we only have about 140 of those covered.
Okay.
The Democrats are about 50 people ahead of us, so I definitely would love to recruit a precinct chair in every precinct.
Okay.
So that's a big effort. I'd like to have a bigger presence on elections. So we're going to be focusing a lot on elections. We definitely have some people that want to do some sort of hand count for the primary, which is the only place that we're even allowed to do a hand count. So that's something we might do, which would be an extreme undertaking. Extreme.
That would be an extreme undertaking.
Yes.
I know that you're very opinionated about election integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to be something that can get solved in Travis County for general races. I also think that when it comes to honesty and integrity in elections, that stuff only fraud or misrepresenting data, it only winds up being successful if there is a margin of fraud to manipulate the data on.
Right.
And if you have good candidates and there's really good messaging, and that messaging is being built up repeatedly over the course of years, it's a lot harder to do that. You look at 2024 versus 2020, I would have arguments about the fraud. I had arguments about the fraud stuff all the time leading up to the election, where people would tell me that the Democrats are going to cheat and Trump's not even going to win anyway. And I would tell them, no, that's not going to happen, because the only reason that if cheating were to have occurred, the only reason that they were to have even gotten away with cheating is because the margins were so close that they were able to. And the reason that the margins were so close is because of communication, and the communication has improved by by leaps and bounds since then, that fraud is not a concern. It's just, I don't think that's even a concern. I showed you that interview I did where I was asking people on 6th Street about how they felt about the economy. You remember that one, right?
Uh-huh.
And and a bunch of like ghetto-ass black people were openly telling me, unprompted, that they want to bring Donald Trump back into the White House.
Yeah.
You know, you can't cheat when that is the prevailing sentiment.
Right. And he asked everybody, I think a big winning strategy this 2024 election was when he asked everybody to vote early. And I do think that helped. It's hard to manipulate numbers when all the numbers are already in. So I'm not really, I just want to run a clean election. And the clerk, Diana Munoz, I can't remember her whole, she has like a hyphenated last name, the Travis County clerk that runs the elections. She ran in my opinion, a very well-run election in November. She was transparent. She had the room completely open. Very different from Dana Debevoise.
Good.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good. Do you have a relationship with Scott Pressler?
No.
Do you?
I know who he is.
A lot of people know Scott Pressler.
Yeah.
Scott Pressler is the man. I really like Scott Pressler a lot. Do you think that you could develop a relationship with Scott Pressler over the next year or so?
Probably. I'm sure I could find a way to reach out to him.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think that process would involve?
Finding somebody who knows him, reaching out to. I'm sure he has like a public relations contact, somebody that you reach out to, and then that person gets to. That's how Brandon Strzok, when we hosted him for last year, I just got on his website and made contact on his website. So I think it's possible.
I think it's very possible.
Yeah. I think it's that hard. Those people want to be found because they're influencers. They want to be found. I don't think it's that hard.
And these people also love challenges, and they love saying, look at what we did. We went from like the most blue city in the world, and we turned it red. Or we turned it lighter blue. Or we made it a light shade of red. Like, people love that. That is the biggest ego boost for these people.
That's right.
And I think that a lot of the conditions here are ripe for these changes.
I agree. And I get to take credit for some of those changes when they happen too.
I agree. And I also think that the credibility of mainstream media has gone so out the window that in the past, you know, the Austin Chronicle or the Statesman or KVUE News or KXAN and all these big news outlets in Austin played an oversized role in determining who won local elections. These people's credibility has gotten shot to flames.
I agree. And so we have to use alternative media sources, like Trump's press secretary Levitt. I think she's doing a fabulous job. She opens every press conference acknowledging a new media source that's in the room. So I think that's real.
That's a really good idea. I think that going on doing spaces every couple of weeks on X is also a really good thing that we could start doing.
Yeah.
Just go on spaces, talk about a certain set of issues, talk about some national issues about what Trump is doing for the economy. Don't be afraid to criticize some of what Trump is doing in a way in which is competent, because what I've noticed about Trump is that people say, oh, you can't criticize Trump and this and that. That's a load of bullshit.
I agree.
I actually think that...
I criticize Republicans all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. And I've noticed that the people who have gotten the farthest in Trump's administration and in Trump's orbit, specifically Kennedy and Tulsi, were some of Trump's loudest critics. And the reason that they are in the room with Trump right now is because they criticized him in a way that was super competent and well thought out and actually pushed him in a better direction.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm really glad that we're like super on the same page.
We are.
We are on the same page with a lot of this stuff. But I'm excited. I'm very happy with where things are.
We just have a lot to do. It's a huge job. It's a lot to do. So
I like the idea of registering voters at gas stations. That was hilarious back when you were doing that.
Yeah.
That was really fun. How do you feel about the school board makeup? Do you think you could change anything school board wise?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually in the middle of a school board race right now in Lake Travis.
Okay.
We're running 2 empty seats. We're running Republicans against Democrats in 2 empty seats.
They actually have Democrats in Lake Travis for school board.
Yeah, they're few and far between.
Wow.
We only have 2 on the board, 2 out of 7. Now they're running 2 for empty seats. And then we're actually running a Republican against a Republican incumbent.
Well, that's good.
Who we don't think did a good job.
That is good. I think that. What do you think that the top issues for getting like either Democrats to flip Republican or people who are just totally kind of in the middle to walk across the line and vote red? What do you think the issues are going to be heading into the next election?
Specifically here, I would say safety, economics, like how what's fiscal responsibility, a transparency. Being honest with the voters, listening to common sense voters, and I don't actually want to focus on all the woke nonsense. I think we can sell around it.
Yeah, and I also think that it's kind of like become a little bit played out.
We still don't want boys and girls sports.
No, I
we
know
don't want
that. You
we
don't
don't want
tr-
boys in locker
we
rooms.
don't want tranny story time. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But I also think that that issue has kind of been beaten into the ground. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think that by and large we won on that issue.
Yeah.
I think that issue's already been won. And so like I've actually been struggling like as a content maker. I've been kind of like struggling a little bit because I've been what I've noticed. I guess what I've noticed is that I feel as though I've been kind of repeating the same joke over and over again.
Well, I have some ideas.
No, we should.
So the fires, right? Think about
Yeah,
it.
okay.
There's fires everywhere right
That's
now.
a big deal.
Everything's
The
burning down.
fires are a big deal.
This is something I might do. I'm not going to do it, but I would go take pictures of fire hazards where the homeless have had camps, and I'd be like, is this a fire hazard? Is this a fire hazard? Like, it's a big deal with the wind and how we're in a drought season for so long. It's scary.
Yes, that's a phenomenal way to message. The past GOP wasn't really taking that approach, and I think communicating this type of stuff in a very real and relatable way that gets regular people to understand what is at stake is how you change the electoral demographic of the city that you're in.
Yeah. Also asking people with the violent crime, increase in violent crime, like asking common sense voters if they feel safe, or did you feel safe? How do you feel compared to 5 years ago? You live in this area, you've always lived here. Is it less safe?
I've made videos like that actually,
Yeah.
where I've gone on 6th Street and I'm saying, "Hi, how's it going? Sorry to bother you. Do you know that our district attorney let out a pedophile on a PR
Yeah.
bond? I was wondering if that makes you happy."
Right. Just things like that. I think there's what I call crossover messaging. That's where you have to focus. If you're trying to win Democrat, swing, or independent voters, you have to find crossover messages.
I think I'm very good at crossover messaging.
Yeah. But those aren't the woke messages. They're other things, you know.
Yes. Crossover messaging is, I think, the key to winning elections. And I think people are also tired with wokeness and even the focus on identity politics on both sides. Like, even if you go on X right now, it's like almost become like a right-wing cesspool with identity politics.
Right.
Where, 5 years ago, it was all like tranny this, BLM that,
I think waste, fraud, and abuse. I think you can make hay on waste, fraud, and abuse. The way that the city has wasted money, the city of Austin specifically, school districts waste a ton of money. Getting that messaging out, I think you can win crossover voters.
I think school choice is also another issue that could really get a lot more voters too.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I don't know. School choice is so. I haven't read the House bill. I've only read the Senate bill. I definitely think that public education needs to be reformed. I'm just not sure about school choice. I'm not sure about the path to that.
Sure, but I think it's a topic that could be looked at.
Sure.
My last guest was Corey DeAngelis, actually.
Okay. He's school choice.
Yeah, I could maybe get you in contact with him if you like.
I understand the argument for school choice. I just
I think it'll get a lot of parents to get to the voting booth.
maybe
I really
it's going
think
to pass. It doesn't matter. It's going to pass in the legislature. It's going to pass or fail in the legislature, and it's going to be a done deal. It's not up to the voters.
It's not up to the voters, but communicating the problems that are taking place in our public schools and communicating what the public schools waste their money on, communicating the fact that nobody's reading on grade level, communicating the lack of understanding on basic issues is something that will relate to parents. I made a video at Texas State a couple years ago where I convinced a bunch of women to sign away their right to vote. Did you see that one?
No.
Yeah, I went up to a bunch of women and I said, "Hey, would you like to sign a petition to abolish the 19th Amendment in order to put an end to women's suffrage?" I got the petition filled in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's scary. Yeah.
Imagine being a parent.
We have to educate voters.
You have to educate voters.
We do have to educate
You have
voters.
to educate.
Most voters are not educated. They vote like for the only female on the ballot, or they might vote for the name they recognize, or they might vote for their favorite sign on the side of the road. Like, unfortunately, we need to educate voters.
People vote based on emotions. They vote based on what's digestible. And the messaging has to be
Simple.
it has to be simple, and it has to be digestible, and it has to be conveyed in a way that everyday people who don't give a shit about politics can relate to.
Yes, because politics can be toxic, and so sometimes people don't vote because they in their minds it's politics. They don't want to be involved in politics, and you're like, well, oh, okay.
No, I
you
understand.
need to vote so that
Listen, I wouldn't be involved. Like, I wouldn't care about any of this stuff if I wasn't involved, and I got involved as a joke.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Like,
I'm
I got
glad you're involved.
Yeah, no, I got involved saying that we should build a dome over Austin to kick Californians out and get them to stop moving here, just as a joke, right? And that's the only reason that I'm even involved, just as a joke, right?
And now we sucked you in.
And now I'm here.
You
now,
care.
Well, I care because I have a job, and I
Own a home.
I have a job. I own a home. I want to start a family. We work in an industry where a lot of the safety concerns do have a reverberating role in terms of how we do our job. Like, if the city's full of homeless people, less people with money go downtown, which means less people take pedicabs.
Less
If
tourists.
property crime is on the road, on the rise, then I'm less comfortable leaving my bike at the shop, and I'm less comfortable leaving my car at the shop for parking. So a lot of this stuff really is it's a big deal, and I think that
Right.
it's something that regular people just need to understand, what is at stake. Like, oh, do you like Donald Trump? I don't care. I just don't want you to have. I don't think it's fair for you to have to worry about your car getting broken into.
Right. Correct.
I think when we do messaging on public safety, people fearmonger and get really insane about violent crime and violence happening. When the rate of actual physical violence happening in Austin is pretty low, and the real crime that happens is the real crime and threat to safety happens when you take your wife out to dinner and somebody breaks into your house when you're taking your wife out to dinner, or you go on a trip for a week and you're not sure if your belongings are going to get stolen, or if you have valuable things in your house and God forbid a fire starts, you can't enjoy your vacation because you don't know if some crackhead is going to start a fire in the woods and burn your house down.
Right. Correct. We have to message simple, easy to understand, like you said. I think we can do it. I think there's plenty that we can do.
I think so too. I'm very excited. All right, Jennifer, how do we get a hold of you?
I forgot my email. I think it's
Well, don't say that. That's not good. If you're gonna be that's
I
terrible.
know.
What?
Well, it's new. It's brand new. Jennifer
my
with
goodness.
2 N's. Jennifer with 2 N's.
We're off to a great start.
I know. Hush it. Jennifer. I think it's jennifer.tcrp@gmail.com.
Okay, that's what we have for now. You're gonna build up your X account. Once you do, I'm gonna retweet. We're gonna repost. We're gonna promote.
Okay, awesome.
And we're gonna start getting the messaging out.
Yes. Well, we need candidates, and we need people who want to just engage in their neighborhood and become precinct chairs.
And a nice, fun, strong, easily digestible social
Messaging.
media. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.